Alrighty. Good morning, everyone. Again, thank you for joining us. My name is Ted Harris. I am the Executive Vice President of the Pennsylvania Petroleum Association. On behalf of the PPA, I'd like to welcome you to our monthly webinar series. For those of you who have joined us in the past, thank you for attending again, and for individuals that are here for your first time, thank you for joining us. We normally do this webinar series on a monthly basis, the first Tuesday of each month at 9 a.m. You can check out our website. We normally have 3 to 4 to 5 months ahead in terms of upcoming webinars. So please check that out. And again, thanks for joining us this month. Couple quick housekeeping items before we get started today. Everyone that is attending from an attendee perspective is going to be on mute. With that being said, you can still interact with more so David than myself, but with us in terms of just throughout the webinar. If you have questions that come up, please ask them, and you can do that by typing that into the GoToWebinar question panel. And what we'll do once we get to the end of the presentation, I will moderate those questions to David. And if for some reason we run out of time or we can't answer your question on the spot here today, I'll definitely make sure that we get you an answer one way or another. So please consider doing that. And the ones that we've done in the past, we've been doing this webinar series for over 4 years now. And really, in my opinion, the top ones that we've seen are ones that are very interactive with questions that are coming in. So please challenge David today and throw a couple tough ones at him. And that's always good stuff. So keep that in mind. We will record this webinar, and this will be placed on our association YouTube page, and then you will also get an automated 24 hours out. You'll get an automated thank you email along with the recording itself. So if you miss anything today, or if you want to share it with someone else from your team, you can definitely do that. Okay, so at this point, I'm going to introduce our speaker. We have David Heiser. David is the Regional Sales and Marketing Coordinator for both Prime Media and Oil and Energy Magazine. David is going to be covering top 10 must-have website features for 2022. David's fighting a pretty mean cough here this morning. I'm sure he's going to battle through it, but I'll let him further explain. And David, I'll pass it off to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ted. Good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Yes, I'm going to apologize in advance. I am at the tail end of COVID, and I do have a lingering cough. So I do apologize if I cough in your ear. I'm going to try not to. But if you do hear me go silent for a moment, it's probably because I'm trying not to cough. I am also going to turn off my screen, turn off my camera, so you don't see me going like this all morning long. Again, I'll try and keep it down as much as possible. That being said, again, thank you again for joining us, and let's go ahead and jump in. So I'm going to kill my camera there for a moment. All right, so as Ted said, we are going to be talking about the top 10 must-have website features for 2022. As we go through the presentation and we look at these top 10, a few things to keep in mind, and that is that there are several key themes that are going to run through all these top 10, and they all surround the user experience, the ability of customers and prospects to interact with your website and with your company, cross-marketing to them, and of course, what's most important is the ability to acquire and retain customers. So keep those in mind as you go through when we look at these top 10 features. So what are those top 10? Well, again, there's quite a few of them, so let's go ahead and jump in. So when we talk about must-haves for your website, the very first thing that you have to have, of course, is a website, but not just a website. Ideally, of course, you want to have a website that's going to work on all of your customers' devices, especially their phones. This is because we know that more than half of web traffic, okay, and more than half of organic search traffic now comes from smartphones. The fact is that Google won't even include non-responsive sites in its search results if the search is being done from a phone. Now, if a customer still comes across and finds your site anyway on the phone, and it's not responsive, the chances are the majority of them are going to leave almost immediately, or they're simply going to decide you aren't trustworthy because it's too hard to work with the site. And they're actually making that decision quickly. You know, how quickly? It's actually pretty amazing. Customers decide about your site in about 5/100ths of a second, whether to stay on the site or not. Now, that decision is based on, how your site looks, how long it takes to load, which I'll talk about a little bit more in a moment. So they're judging your site based on those criteria. So they might not be judging a book by its cover, but they are judging your site that way. So when you look at these numbers and you see that 94% of your website's first impressions and 3/4 of your company's credibility are based on that site design, this is why we say a professional, attractive design makes our list, why it's number 2 on our list, because it matters, okay? It matters how your site looks. It matters how your site loads. As I said, when we talk about load time, that is essential. Again, time is essential, okay? Speed is essential. If you've ever gone to a website from your phone, really any device, but especially your phone, and it took or seemed to take forever to load, think about what you did. Well, chances are you bounced or you left the site after waiting for what seemed like forever for that site to load, but in reality it was probably a second, okay, if that. Yeah, the majority of your pages, okay, your images, your content need to be up, visible, and usable in under a second. And then, okay, you have that 5/100ths of a second for that design to capture that customer prospect's interest. You have to wow them that quickly. Okay, so it's really important that your sites load properly. And related to that as well is that all your sites, okay, must have some type of security certificate. And the reason for this, again, is it's all about security. And the search engines and the browsers all recognize this. So search engines like Google and Bing, often, again, if your site's not secure, again, they're not going to include you in the search results. And most browsers won't even allow the site to load. Okay, most sites, what they do is you try to go, even if you're typing in the URL directly, it'll come up and it'll be a warning page saying that the site's unsecure and may be dangerous to continue. Some browsers will let you push through that, but others won't even let you load the site at all. So again, that security is very, very important. So again, design, load time, security. Okay, these are all important because they're all part of that user experience that we talked about. Like I said, one of those themes that we said we're going to run through all of this. So it's very important to have all those. So again, so now we've done this. We have a responsive and secured site. It loads fast. What's next? What's the next thing that's most important to have? Well, you should know the answer to this, but okay, I'm going to tell you anyway. And that is relative content. Content is king, okay? Your customers and potential customers are coming to your site to learn something, to consume information. So one of the acronyms, in fact, that Google's ranking algorithms quantify is called EAT, E-A-T, and that stands for expertise, authority, and trustworthiness. So it's a pretty appropriate acronym when you think about it. So what is it that you need for EAT? Okay, well, obviously you need information about your company, your products, and your services, but it also needs to go beyond that to truly engage your customers. One of the things that we highly recommend is testimonial. Sorry about that, I warned you. Is testimonials. So when you consider the fact that most users today value online reviews pretty much almost as much or sometimes even more than recommendations from friends and family, very important to include those. Another two items to include on your websites are frequently asked questions pages and blogs. These provide multiple advantages. Okay, they provide more resources for the search queries. Okay, for your customers, for your prospects, and for the websites, or I'm sorry, for the search engines themselves. Okay, because it adds content that they're constantly looking for. And very importantly, is you need to update these on a regular basis. Again, showing the search engines that the site is actively adding content. And that is key when it comes to SEO, okay? Google, Bing, all the search engines are looking to make sure that your sites are not stagnant. So you want to make sure you're updating that. And again, frequently asked questions, updating those seasonally, your blogs, doing those, whether you're doing them weekly, monthly, et cetera. Again, it helps add that content and keep the site fresh. So those first three things that we talked about, okay, having the site, loading properly, designed properly, the relevant content, those are essentially the basics. Okay, so those are the must-haves. But again, we need to go beyond that to be really successful. So we've covered those basics. Now we're going to talk about, again, the features that are going to make you even more attractive to consumers. Part of this is about understanding your customers, understanding the customer's needs and your prospects and what they're looking for. When someone's looking for help and information through your website, okay, they don't want to spend a lot of time completing complicated forms. And they want to have a pretty good feeling that when they submit that form, that the person receiving is going to understand the information, what they're looking for, reach back out to them with, again, yes, there's always going to be some follow-up when you reach back out to a prospect or a customer who sent you a form through your website to make sure that you're confirming the information. But if they end up having to repeat themselves over and over and over again, because once you talk to them and you realize, okay, you know what, I got to transfer them to somebody else, and you put them on hold, you transfer them over, the next person picks up, and they have to go through it over again, it's very frustrating. So it's important to make sure that we keep the process simple and we keep it organized. So one of the ways to do that, excuse me. Okay, sorry about that. So one of the solutions for this is to have an integrated customer service dashboard for your CSRs and your department heads, so that based on the nature of the query, of that form, it can be routed to the appropriate person and then logged within a dashboard for review by others as needed. And what's also important with this log is that you need to be able to add information as the process continues. So this way, that log, together with access via the dashboard to account information, account history, plus any other issues that might have come up or have been dealt with recently, that's going to put you and the customer in a much better position to come up with a successful result for the issue or interest that they're reaching out about. So again, it's about keeping it organized, keeping it simple for the customer, organizing it for you as a company to be able to process and work with that customer smoothly and without, again, them having to repeat themselves over and over again. Now, again, it goes beyond that. There are many other ways to provide excellent customer service via your website. And again, this is what we're talking about. We're always talking about customer service, that customer experience when you want them to interact, whether that's on the phone, in person, or what we're talking about today through your website and through your digital outlets. So what are some of these other ways to do that? What are some of the other things you should be looking for? The first online service you absolutely need to have is e-commerce, an e-commerce option. And again, that should include online ordering for your will call customers, online payments, and even purchases for options for things like filters and additives. Again, if you have them to offer online, again, you want to have the ability to do that through the e-commerce solution. Again, simple purchases that they can do on their own. So understand the importance of this. I mean, pretty much we see this around us all the time today. When you consider the fact that e-commerce is nearly a $5 trillion enterprise worldwide, you can see that adding a sales ordering system to your website helps expand your will call business. It helps expand your over-the-counter sales. And when you integrate this, okay, again, with your back-end system, it actually adds even more abilities for your customers. So automating it and integrating it, I should say, with automated communications will then also help remind your customers when it's time to place new orders, when it's time to order fuel, when it's time to schedule tune-ups, et cetera. We'll talk about some of that more later. But the key to the fact, again, is that e-commerce is an extremely important part of every business today. And when we talk about that, again, the most important aspect of the e-commerce, okay, if nothing else, is to have the online payments. Again, this way, all of your customers, your budget customers, your will call customers, service customers, really anyone who you send an invoice to, okay, can pay online. And guess what? That's what they expect. In today's market, customers expect to be able to pay online, okay? Now, we already mentioned and discussed the fact that a majority of them today are now coming to your site from their smartphones, which means many of them also are now going to be looking to make payments via things like digital wallets or services like Venmo or PayPal. When we look at the numbers, okay, last year, almost as many U.S. consumers used a digital wallet to make an online payment as those who use traditional credit cards. So it's one of the fastest growing payment methods that are out there, and it's something that you should consider if you're not offering it already through your pay online systems, to add that as an option. Now, one of the things, arguments that we hear all the time, and I've heard it for a long time, and I'm still hearing it today, which is a little surprising, is the fact that, a lot of companies will say to us, you know what, we really don't need that. My customers tend to be older, so they're not using digital wallets. They're not even online. Well, don't believe that, okay? Because the reality is they do. Okay, more of your customers today are made up of millennials and Gen Xers than you think. Okay, they're there. Realize this: millennials are between the ages of 26 and 41, and Gen Xers are between the ages of 42 and 57. All right, so it's 26 to 57. Who are these people? These are your customer base or your potential customer base. They're the new homeowners, the new parents. Some of them are even grandparents. And yes, almost half of them use digital wallets. Even 22% of boomers are using them. So don't believe for a second that they're not out there and they're not looking for this ability. So what does this mean? Well, it means you have to give the people what they want. And they want to be able to pay online, and they want to be able to pay in ways that are comfortable for them. So it's about giving something for everyone and covering all your bases. But they don't just want to pay online, okay? They want to be able to do more. Sorry about that again. They want to be able to do more than that. And that, of course, brings us to our next item, number 6. Self-service portals. Okay, these numbers don't lie. Okay, the numbers that you're looking at. Okay, consumers look for self-service portals to manage their accounts. They're used to them. They appreciate the convenience, and as we said, they expect them in today's market, and they prefer them. Self-service portals are an absolutely must-have feature. Again, it's why they made our list. Now, again, the abilities of those portals are going to vary, and it's important, of course, to make the most of them, like everything we're talking about. Again, it's about maximizing opportunities. So with your portals, you want to integrate those portals with your CRM, with your back-end systems, which means that your customers can then do more than just pay their bills or schedule delivery. They can review their service and billing histories. They can look at the account histories, account information. They can enroll or request enrollment or actually enroll in your program, such as service plans, your payment plans, any program that you have to offer can be enrolled through a portal, okay? And it'll allow them to also manage multiple accounts. If they have multiple accounts with you, they can do them all from one place. If they have multiple accounts and multiple properties, again, it can all be done very simply through your portal system and gives them that convenience that they're looking for. Most importantly to your customers, okay, is that they can do this on their schedule. All right. One of the things that, and I talked about this in another seminar that I did recently, but it's very important I want to mention today. One of the things we have to understand is that, like all of us, or majority of us who are working at companies that are understaffed, so we have people who are very busy doing the work of 2, 3, 4 people sometimes, they're pressed for time. And that's the same for your customers. Chances are they're understaffed where they work. So they don't always have time during their day, their business day, to be able to reach out to you while you're open. So they need to be able to interact with you at their convenience, at any time of the night, 24/7, as they say. And that is a huge benefit to them. So they can do it when they get home from work. They can do it basically outside of your hours. So again, they need to do it in the middle of the night. They need to do it first thing in the morning. Again, it doesn't matter. It's there for them. It's the convenience factor that's there. So they give the customers the independence that they're looking for, and that, of course, is a huge plus. But it's also a huge plus for you, okay? Because, again, chances are you are understaffed as well, and your staff is stressed. Portals help alleviate a lot of that stress. They give your staff time to then focus on the complex calls, the ones that have to be handled one-on-one, the customer issues, sales issues, okay? And they'll do that without the constant disruptions of phone calls for simple things like people just simply asking what their balance is or when their next tune-up is. When did I get my last delivery? So it simplifies the process and alleviates a lot of strain. And that, of course, allows your staff to now be more productive, which, of course, adds to your bottom line. And that's another advantage of the self-service portal, okay, is in many ways they help add to your bottom line. In fact, self-service portals, I got a little tongue-tied there, sorry, ends up paying for themselves, okay? Because each transaction, each interaction ends up costing you the equivalent of pennies compared to somewhere between $6 and $12 in the cost when you're doing it through a answered phone and going through a full process. All right. So again, they pay for themselves. Now, I'm going to run you through some quick numbers. These aren't on the screen. If you want to jot these down, that's fine. You can double check my math, etc. So, these studies were done for multiple companies, different sizes, some very large companies, which were looking at very high call volumes. But we're going to just assume for a moment, just a decent sized company, and we're going to assume that they're receiving, say, 100 calls a day, okay, based on 5 days. And I know, again, a lot of you are open 6 days, but we're going to use 5 days as an example. So 100 calls a day times 5, it's 500 calls per week, okay? Times 52 weeks, that's 26,000 calls. If your self-service portal even just reduces that by half, okay, that brings us down to 13,000. Times, say, $11, again, being able to save you up to $11 per call, that's $143,000 a year in savings. And I know a lot of you saying, well, okay, wait, but that's the max. All right, well, let's take the median, okay? So let's say $550, half of that. That would still mean you're saving $71,500 per year. That's a huge savings, okay? And if you want to make the argument, say, okay, well, we're not that busy, we don't get 100 calls, again, cut that in half again. You're still talking around $35,000, $36,000 a year in savings. That's going to pay for the portal within that first year. And then year after year, it's just going to continue to pay, not just pay for itself, but it's going to rack up those dividends. It's going to rack up those savings and add to your bottom line, because now you're being more productive by allowing your staff to be more productive and, of course, more profitable. But again, it still doesn't stop there. Again, we're only up to number 6. So what's next? Okay. Well, again, portals can do even more for you. It's not always just about your customers being able to do things online, which of course it is. That is the important part, and that's, again, we talked about that benefit. But your portals can also be proactive and work for you by utilizing personalized content. Okay. So we've gotten the portal. We have it integrated with our back-end software. That gives us the ability to look at customer information. Okay, so again, knowing about the histories, knowing about what services they're enrolled in, which ones they're not enrolled in, allows you to do a lot of things now with your portal systems. Okay, and integrating that with that. So, as an example, okay, my guess is that most people here on this call are probably have an Amazon account. All right, and when you first log into Amazon, you're greeted with reminders about previous orders, recommendations based on your browsing and your ordering history, sometimes discounts on items that might be related to products that you sold. It's really the platform's algorithm looks at this and shows you things that they believe you might be interested in. Also, as I'm sure many of you are probably also enrolled in member programs at your supermarket, drugstores, etc. Okay, so again, in cases like that, you go and you check out, you pay for your items, you get your receipt, and then you also get coupons for, again, related products that they believe you're going to be interested in. So again, related to what your previous history has been. There's a reason why these businesses offer this personalized content, okay? It works. It's really just that simple, okay? That's why personalized content, again, is that must-have. By being able to integrate with your back end, incorporate that information, again, now you can proactively market and cross-market your products and services to your customers. So imagine for a moment being able to send equipment rebate offers to customers who have 20, 30-year-old boilers or storage tanks. Being able to show an online banner on your portal to customers who are not or on will call, and showing them the benefits of automatic delivery. If they're not currently a service customer on a service plan, showing them the benefits of service plans. All of that becomes possible to cross-market specifically to customers' needs and what they're most likely to be interested in, of course, help you cross-market and upsell your customers. Okay? But again, it can do other things. Again, it's more about them just being able to do simple things. It's about prompting them to do those things. This time of year, a lot of you are trying to get your tune-ups done, okay, while it's slower. Again, prompting customers to schedule their tune-ups. All this is possible based on that integration and based on being proactive. Okay, when it's payment plan season, customers who have been on price protection, budget plans, again, it can prompt them to renew or to enroll. So it's all about looking at all this information and utilizing it to maximize your efforts, on what you're trying, and your goals. One of the things we talked about just a little while about is about testimonials, okay? And I know every company is always trying to figure out, how do I get more customers to give us feedback? How do we get more testimonials, more reviews from our customers? Well, again, here's where you can automate that system, again, by utilizing that personalized content. So, for example, at the end of the day, customers who had service calls or deliveries or installs can automatically be sent invitations to review you. And again, it can link directly to a review site. It could be an online feedback form for your own use. Again, multiple ways of doing this, but it allows you to collect that feedback and gain even more trust and loyalty from your customers. And of course, helps you to be more productive and troubleshoot any issues that might be up by being proactive about them. So the point of this is that the personalized content is really only limited by the data that we're integrating with. So whatever information is in your back-end system that is accessible to your portal can be utilized in any way that you can imagine. As long, again, if it's accessible, it could be used to, again, cross-market, to promote, and prompt your customers to act in a timely manner. So it's, again, a very important aspect to all of this. So when we talk about the personalized communications, okay, there is another way, of course, to utilize this as well. And that brings us up to number 8. Virtual communications. As well, again, as I said, as I am at the tail end of dealing with COVID, and hence my pauses so much, and the occasional cough in your ear. But the one thing that we have learned from COVID is that it changed the way that people communicate. Many users of all ages got used to doing things remotely, just as we're doing the webinar today. So utilizing Zoom, FaceTime, and similar type applications, they've been able to enjoy, well, at least in a small way, to be able to remote visit and celebrate with friends and family for different events. So they become used to this. It's become acceptable, okay, and they understand it. What's interesting about this is that, and very important about this, is that customers actually appreciated companies that adjusted their operations to responding to this crisis, to be able to adjust to the times. And 82% of those customers actually did more business with those companies that had done so. Now, when 82% of any group increases business because of a feature, well, again, now you can see why we have virtual communications as part of our list. All right, that's a huge opportunity to help enhance your business, to interact with your customers in ways that they're comfortable with. And really, that's where this, where virtual communications came about, is because these new processes are safer for your older customers, the more at-risk customers when it came to COVID. It's safer for your employees. And the reality is it also goes beyond the COVID era, once we get there, because it's applicable in many other ways, which we're going to talk about in just a moment. The key to this is that virtual communication services, again, they're combining the speed of and the immediacy of the digital communications with the personal, again, with the virtual face-to-face contact your customers are looking for. So while, again, you can't always be right in front of them physically, but you can still have that interaction, that personalized face-to-face interaction through these services. And it makes a big difference. And again, it goes to that comfort level with your customers and what they're looking for. So how do we do this? Okay, how do we add virtual communications to your website? Well, again, a couple different ways. One way you can start is simply with a live help feature. Now, whether that's truly live, and again, this can be difficult for many companies to be live 24/7 on their chat services, but it can be live, it can be a chat box, it can be a combination of the both. It doesn't matter. The key to this is that it gives your customers, your prospects, an opportunity to engage with you through your website and get a response. So you can now get them information that they're looking for. But again, a common theme to all this is it doesn't stop there. Again, that's the basic. But again, you can do more by integrating these services. So integrated remote service calls is another way to do this, okay? Remote service calls, and again, I mentioned earlier about ways that these can work for you and help increase productivity. remote service calls do this. They provide a digital solution that actually more than 70% of customers, more than 70% of your customers are looking for, okay? Now, the process is really simple. They start off on your website looking for service. They fill out a simple form. Again, keep it simple, okay? So they fill out a simple form that is then, of course, submitted to your representative at the office, your service manager, dispatcher, et cetera. And then, of course, that is then picked up. So when we then, of course, integrate that form with your back end. So when they're going in, and if they're going into a portal where they've signed in, it can automatically load their customer information, again, giving them less work to do. Again, automating it as much as possible. Ease of use is the key, that user experience. Okay, so that form gets filled out and gets transmitted to the appropriate department with the information. That, of course, gets reviewed. Within that request might be an actual time frame for them to reach out, when it's best to reach out to them, what method they want you to reach out with them, whether it be Zoom, FaceTime, et cetera. And you set up that call, and of course, you reach out to your customer. As I said, so now you're on that Zoom call, that FaceTime call. So now your service manager or your dispatcher can speak directly with the customer, again, virtual face-to-face, and not only have them explain the problem, but now they could take their phone with its camera and show you the problem. So you can hear the problem, see the problem. You can even help them run through some standard troubleshooting items and help get a close-up of important information, the equipment tags, the gauges, really any information that's going to help you diagnose this faster. In some cases, again, maybe it's resetting a thermostat, hitting the reset button on the burner. Very simple things. Again, you can take care of that at once. Okay, but the key, of course, is that when an in-house visit is required, all right, the problem has already been diagnosed or at least narrowed down. I do apologize. Sorry. So at least the problem has been narrowed down, so that when you get to the tech does get to the house, it takes them less time to confirm what's going on and to take care of the problem. So again, that means less time and a shorter visit in the home, which again is great customer service. The customer is happy because things happen quickly, gets taken care of the first time. And it also means the fact that your customers are spending less time. Your technicians are spending less time because they're better prepared. They know what they're faced with, so they're going to have the right equipment, the right parts, et cetera. So it all goes to that enhanced customer experience in the home as well as from the online experience. And most importantly, again, for you, is that by cutting down the amount of time your techs are in the home, okay, it means shorter service call times, which then means your techs can get to more calls in a given period of time within a given shift. And again, that's being more productive, and that productivity is going to help increase your bottom line. So again, these services go a long way to helping you be more profitable, to be more efficient, which leads to that profitability. So the last two features I want to talk about, okay, these are not actually directly on your website, but they are very important digital applications that can increase customer satisfaction and sales. So what are they? Number 9, social media for service. Okay, again, not just social media, but social media for service. Now, as I said, social media is not going to be on your website or your portals. They might likely be linked from there and are definitely part of your web presence. And that's what's important because, again, your customers are coming to your site. They see those little icons and curiosity gets the best of them. So they're going to click through and check out your Facebook, your Instagram, your Twitter feeds. Also, in today's world, many people are actually searching for providers on social media instead of the search engines. Okay, and we also know, of course, that social media is an extremely cost-effective way to advertise. Right? And I'm not going to go into depth on that because that's another whole presentation. But beyond that, again, social media has become a preferred method for customers to reach out to your company with questions, with concerns, and yes, sometimes with complaints. Okay, by utilizing those platforms' messaging applications. Okay, so not necessarily just posting to your page, but actually sending you messages through those vehicles. Now, of course, what makes it very important with that, of course, to utilize that properly, means that you do need to be monitoring that. Okay. Now, one of the reasons, of course, customers are doing this now, again, they've lost some trust. They've lost some faith in some of the other methods of communications. Today's world, many companies are using those automated phone systems, and customers just don't like them. They call your office, they're looking for information, or they have a problem, and they get a recording that thanks them for calling, and then asks them to press, 1 for sales, 2 for billing, 3 for delivery, 4 for et cetera, and then they go into queue on hold. And, it could be a few seconds, it could be a minute, it could be several minutes before they actually get to speak with somebody. So they get very frustrated by this. Even standard emails, they go into their own email system to try and send you an email. And again, they're not always responded to because sometimes they end up in trash or junk folders, et cetera. So they've lost faith in that. Again, with email, if it's coming directly from your portal or directly from a form on your website, there's a little bit more faith in that. But this is why customers are looking at other methods to reach out to you and get their questions answered. But again, as I said, with the social media messaging, they believe and they feel that they're getting a response. And in most cases, they are getting very timely responses. And again, that key to that, of course, is to make sure that you're monitoring that regularly. Now, no one, of course, and we mentioned this before with the chat bots and so forth, no one can be online 24/7. There are some teenagers that try that, but really it's next to impossible to do so. But this is why these social media avenues, like for instance, like Facebook, provide auto responses that can be customized to the customer's message. So based on keywords, they can get specific types of responses automatically. So it could be a reminder that if it's an emergency to call the office, it could be a reminder of normal service hours, links to key pages on your website for information, or it could take them to order forms, et cetera, for them to able to get that immediate response. And of course, you can string together all these types of automated response messages. So again, that customer gets an immediate feedback, which helps satisfy them, and then gives you time to then get back to them, whether it be later in the day or the next day, if that message, of course, came in at night. So it allows you to communicate with your customers, and your customers communicate with you very quickly and easily. And what these communications do is they help build that customer loyalty and that customer retention because they're able to interact with you even while you're not actually there. Okay, so it just goes to that feeling that you're responsive and you're there for the customer's needs. And that, of course, brings me to our number 10. Okay, again, all these systems we talked about, the social media for service, the automated responses, building customer retention and loyalty. Now, number 10 is also about loyalty, but now we're talking about showing loyalty back to your customers. Okay, think back just a few minutes ago when we talked about the supermarket and drugstore loyalty programs. Again, why do people join them? Well, they do it to save money. Again, and many times they're able to do that from the very first purchase. Okay, they accrue points for discounts. Sometimes that's a dollar amount, percentage off their total purchase. Sometimes it's just reducing the price on something that they're currently buying. Okay, so again, they're able to get that immediate feedback and feel good feeling. And as we said earlier, why do businesses do this? Well, they do it because they work. Okay, store owners know that they're going to make more money on the other items purchased than they're giving away in discounts. Okay, these systems again pay for themselves. Now, why does it work? Okay, well, let's break down for a moment why a true loyalty program, a points-based loyalty program works, okay, and how it can work, how it's going to work for you. So when you look at this, okay, and this is again why it became one of our must-haves on our list. Again, look at the numbers that you see before you. Okay, 3/4 of customers surveyed would change brands for a better loyalty program. 70% are also more likely to recommend your company because of your loyalty program. And nearly 60% of internet users think that rewards and loyalty points are the best part of shopping. Right? These point systems are everywhere. As we said, they're at the grocery store, your bank, your credit cards, frequent flyer miles. They're everywhere because they work. Okay? And as I mentioned before, these programs, like the portals themselves, loyalty programs pay their own way. Okay? Let's again look at the numbers. Okay? Point-based loyalty programs are what customers are expecting, number one. Okay? And again, these are, and excuse me if any of you are still doing this, but these are a far cry from the old standard programs that the industry has offered. It's a far cry from offering that $50 a year credit for customers who renew their service plans, and then you are also then capping that benefit. True points are uncapped. For as much business as they give you, they're accruing points, and of course, the value of those points is something that you decide on, and then what they're going to be, of course, redeeming them for. Without these types of programs, okay, you were then risking being one of those companies that the 70% of consumers that were surveyed said that they would leave go to another competitor with a better program. All right, so not having a proper points-based loyalty program puts you at risk at losing customers. Okay, if that's not enough for you, okay, consider this. Okay, a simple fact that it has always been easier to sell to an existing customer than to acquire a new one, and then it's even easier to increase sales to a customer in a loyalty program rather than trying to find new customers. In fact, customers enrolled in loyalty programs simply spend more money. Okay, it's 12 to 18% more. Again, that's an increase to your bottom line. Okay, so you're increasing your profits by 12 or 18% by only giving away a little bit. So this, again, the system's going to pay for itself in many, many different ways. So another way, of course, that these systems today are a must-have is, again, we find ourselves in a very challenging market with fuel prices. And customers are always looking for ways to figure out how to reduce it. They're constantly asking you, how can I control my costs? Okay, and yes, you have your budget plans, your payment plans, etc. But loyalty points now offer another way for them to help take the edge off of that cost of the fuel by allowing them to redeem loyalty points for your own products and services, including their fuel. So when customers are earning points every day for every delivery, for every service, everything that they're purchasing from you. And now they can use those program points to automatically convert those points now to help, quote unquote, lower their bill type payments and get credit directly on their accounts. Okay, so again, it's a way of helping them feel better about your company, about working with you, and again, benefits that you're offering that your competitors may not be. Again, don't be one of those 70% that are going to, that are at risk. So you can see these were 10 top items, okay, for your website and related, to your internet presence that are very important to, again, as we said, let the customer have positive experiences, that user experience, to interact with you remotely, to be able to cross-market to your customers, and of course, to acquire and retain your customers. Okay, but before we leave you, a couple of quick things I want to cover. Okay, we're calling this our bonus round. And really, it's just some key takeaways that we want to make sure that you understand and to stress these things. Okay, so again, one of the things, and I mentioned this before, that we hear all the time from customers and prospects is that, my customers are older. They don't use the internet. They don't want to do things online. Again, as I'm here to tell you, as I said earlier, very respectfully, if you believe that, you're simply wrong. Okay, the reality is that they do. Okay. The internet has been, as we know it, okay, has been in common use for nearly 30 years, and it's actually been around for almost 40. And, that's long enough for even your older customers to have touched a keyboard or logged in somewhere at one time or another. Consider these numbers, okay? Almost every adult under 60 years old has used the internet, and 75% of seniors have as well, okay? Now, that being said, okay, it is important to understand that different age groups are looking for different features from your sites and from your systems. And the key is to have a little bit of something for everyone. So how does that break down within the age groups? All right, we'll take a quick look at this. So we're going to start off with the boomers. Okay, so these are people between 56 and 76 years old. Very important, as I keep saying, boomers are not computer phobic. Okay, most are more tech savvy than you might think about. Okay, and frankly, I do fall into this age group, and I'm fairly computer savvy. Some people more, some people less, but again, all in all, boomers are online. They do have computers, and they are computer literate. Remember, these are people who have been using the internet pretty much since the beginning. And very importantly, you have to understand, this includes the age group of people who invented the internet. Okay, so again, do not exclude them. Again, when customers said this to me, 15 years ago, there was a little bit of truth to this. But again, as the population ages and when we move into these brackets, again, we're within that age group. And I'm saying we, meaning us boomers, that we've grown up with this. We've been utilizing computers. We weren't born into it, but we've grown with it. We spent our careers working with it, and we're very comfortable using it, whether it be shopping online, social media, etc. So again, if you think your older customers are not out there using these services, they are. Okay. The Gen X's, again, 42 to 57 years old. This is an interesting age group. Again, they were born really right about the same time as the internet. The oldest of the groups were probably in high school. Okay, it's not surprisingly why they're very often referred to as the MTV generation. And this group is very comfortable with videos and video tutorials. Now, that's something that I mentioned that should be part of your website. But again, these are another great tool, whether you're utilizing video on your website or link to it through your social media, again, utilizing YouTube, etc. And again, this generation is very visual. Okay, so again, they're very attuned to this, because this is what they grew up with. So again, something else to consider in planning out what to have, what not to have on your websites. When we take a look at the millennials, it's interesting. Again, millennials have been the brunt of many a joke over the years. And again, these are typically based on stereotypes. And of course, like all groups, millennials are not their stereotype. Okay. The reality is, and we mentioned this earlier, again, these are people 26 to 40 years old. Okay. And when we think of millennials, we're always thinking young, young, young. But again, this is a key demographic for you. Who are these millennials? Well, these millennials are, as I mentioned earlier, they're the new homeowners. They're the new parents. They're your new customers. This is where your new customers are coming from. Okay. The internet was never new to them. Okay. They grew up with a mobile device in their hand. Okay. They're most likely to use your live chat, mobile and digital wallets. Most likely they're using their phone or maybe even a smartwatch to reach out to you as a company to give you a call. They're the age group that is there. They are connected to the extreme. The good news also about this is that they are also an age group that are more likely to praise a company they like than to pan one that they had a bad issue with. So they're more willing to respond to those automated posts, those requests for reviews. Okay, so they really are an ideal demographic for you as a business. Okay. The key to all of this that we talked about today, as I said, there were those key themes. It's all about attracting and keeping your customers, attracting your prospects, and making sure that they have the features virtually through your website, through your portals, to be able to work with you virtually, as well as being able to pick up the phone and call you when they need to. Again, it's about having those technologies, having those abilities at their fingertips. And that's true for everyone. So, very quick recap. I know it's a lot of information. And then we'll take a look at some questions. So again, we talked about top 10 features. Responsive website, again, being able to be visible and easily usable on all devices, especially cell phones. Professional updated design, the security, the fast loading, having that relevant content to attract them, to keep hold of them and to engage with them. Having the online features, the customer service features that they can relate to, that they can utilize. The e-commerce, the payment options, again, pay online, very important. Expanding that to a full self-service portal, allowing them to interact with you, to manage their accounts 24/7. Okay, yes, it's important for them to be able to reach you during business hours, but a lot of the things that they need can be done after hours. If we're leaving that strain on your existing staff and giving them the flexibility that they want and they expect when it comes to working with companies in today's marketplace. Utilizing the personalized content, okay. Being proactive, having your systems automatically reach out to your customers based on their data history that we can now cross-market products and services. Utilizing the visual communications to enhance that virtual, that interactive communications with them when it's not possible to be face-to-face. Utilizing your social media and utilizing loyalty programs to, again, build that loyalty back with your customers and giving them that feel-good experience that keeps them around. Those are why those items were in our top 10. In takeaways, again, the biggest thing with the takeaways, again, you have customers in every age group. Do not assume that any one age group is not looking to engage with you virtually through your website. They are. Through your portals, they are. Paying online, they are. The key to that, as we said, is just make sure that you understand the different age groups and what they're looking for, and make sure you have that, that your websites, your portals fit the needs of each age group. So it gives, again, giving something to everyone is the key to all of this. So again, the user experience, the ability to interact, the cross-marketing, the acquisition and retention is what you're aiming for through all those services. Okay, with that, I want to thank everybody. I'm sorry if I, about the breaks, the cough. If there are any questions, of course, we'll take a look at those now.
Yeah, thank you, David. Appreciate it. Appreciate your expertise on the topic. We did get a few questions that came in here. We're going to have a hard stop at 10 this morning, but I am going to go through these. And if anyone else has questions, please ask them, and we will get to them. So, excuse me. I'm going to read this verbatim.
Sorry.
You mentioned that not secure sites are not showing up in search results. Does that apply to organic and/or paid results? So in other words, is there a difference between organic search and a paid search if you don't have a secure website?
Yes. In the organic, it's most likely not going to show up. If you do have a pay search, we're doing the pay-per-click, Google Ads, again, based on those keywords, then yes, your site will show up. But again, now you risk the problem, though, is that when someone clicks on that, depending upon the browser you're using, if the site is not secure, it is more likely to be blocked from showing than to be shown. So the key is, and again, security certificates, adding a security certificate to a website is a very easy thing to do. Speak with your website provider, whoever's doing, managing your site for you. Talk to them about that. They can set that up. The cost is not that much to do, and of course, then you renew it each year for a minimal amount as well. So the cost to make sure your site is secure is insignificant to the benefits that you're receiving.
Okay, next question. This is, I think you can take this multiple ways, David, but what is used for personalized content and how to create it? So you talked about the importance of having unique content on pages. Can you kind of speak through that? Maybe in a couple of ways. What does Prime Media offer in that regard, and what other clients that might have someone that can do this internally? How do they approach that?
Sure, absolutely. When we're talking about utilizing that personalized content, so again, I'll use Prime Media as the example. So when we build our systems, I'm referring to our portal systems, and again, our portal systems are multi-phase. So we have, a basic customer account portal for them to do basics, and then we have modules that we can build that out to include online marketing, on portal marketing, showing, many different features, automated communications such as automated emails, text messages, etc. So the key to this is that when you take your portal systems and you integrate them with your back-end systems, your CRM, there's a host of information that you have in there. So it's all about the customer history. What is their, are they an automatic delivery or will call customer? Are they on a service plan? Are they on a budget program? Have they enrolled in price protection before? So basically, we're looking at the customer history, everything that you have in your back-end system that's accessible. And based on that information, we can then code automated mechanisms so that when a customer logs into your portal, for instance, we can see that they're not currently on a service plan. So they can see a banner ad promoting your service plans. That's using their personal content. Even beyond that, even if you don't want to do the whole portal system, we can still do things such as, in fact, I just did this for a customer recently with our text marketing solution, which is called TextPoint. So integrating that with your back-end system. So again, we don't need a full portal, but just integrating that with your back-end system, that allows, again, automated information to be texted to your customers. So renewal reminders. So reminders for renewing their service plans, reminders for that they have an upcoming service visit or an upcoming delivery. Based on your will call customers, for instance, we can look at their delivery history. So we can look at the size of their tank, when they got their last delivery, and what their average usage is, and then automatically, based on a formula that we develop, send them reminders on when it may be time to order fuel. So the advantage of that, of course, is then you're not always relying on your customer to remember. It cuts down on your customers on those emergency calls that I ran out of fuel by prompting them ahead of time. but it also shows them that you are aware of their usage. And it's a great mechanism to then step across that and help get them to go from a will call to an automatic delivery customer by building that confidence that you understand their needs. So those are just a couple of examples. And as I mentioned before, I could spend the rest of the day talking about different examples of how to utilize that personal data to market and cross-market to your customers. But that's the general concept. If you do have more questions, feel free to give me a call. I'll be happy to discuss that in greater depth with anyone.
Okay. That is all we have in terms of questions. Those are two really good questions. So thank you to the individuals that asked them. So I think with that being said, we're gonna wrap up here. David, any closing words or anything from your end before we do so?
The only thing I just want to say is, well, first, of course, I want to thank everyone for joining us today. We really appreciate the opportunity to speak with you. If you do have any other questions related to this or any of your marketing, feel free to reach out to us. You can reach out to me directly on my cell. The numbers are on the screen, 215-681-1772. Or again, you can reach me or any of us through the office, 516-222-2041. Really just want to leave everyone with the fact that, again, in today's market, we have a lot of challenges. There's no doubt about that. And the ability to engage your customers online with those, especially given the challenges that we have, being short-staffed, the pricing situation where we're all faced with right now. The more you can engage your customers, the more you can interact with them one-on-one, on the phone, face-to-face, and virtually, the more likely you are to be successful in obtaining customers, of gaining new customers, and of course, retaining the ones that you have. It's all about just taking the steps, and again, ensuring that you're touching on all those bases, having something for everyone through all your vehicles of interaction.
Thank you. Thank you, David. Thank you, everyone that joined us this morning. Again, you're going to get a recording of this webinar, and please check out our upcoming webinar schedule. You can find that on our new website that we launched last week under education. So hope everyone has a great rest of the day. And again, thank you for joining us, and take care. Goodbye.
Thank you.